The day the child screamed, the galaxy changed forever. Her name was Lena, only 7 years old. She was born on a deep space colony called Horizon 3, a small Earth outpost in neutral space. Her father was a botanist. Her mother, a nurse. Normal. People. Good people. They believed in peace and exploration, in building bridges across stars. But peace was a fragile thing. The Valari Syndicate, a ruthless alien race known for trafficking and biological experimentation, had been watching the colony from the shadows. Earth didn't know. The Valari operated. From outside galactic law. They were smarter than most gave them credit for. They didn't attack militaries or governments. They targeted soft spots, remote, unprotected places. Like Horizon 3, they came at night, if you could call it night in space. Silent, surgical, they killed no one. That was the twisted part. They didn't need to. They only took one, Lena. No one saw them. No one heard a ship. There was no damage. No alarms. Her parents woke up and her bed was empty. Panic spread like fire through the colony. Security bots scanned every inch. Drones searched for life signs, but nothing. No body, no clue. Just one tiny footprint burned into the floor of the corridor, singed by alien tech, leading nowhere. Earth was informed. Investigators came. But they had no leads. No one even knew the Valari were in the area. Her parents never gave up. They stood in front of the Galactic Council and begged for help, pleaded with every government, screamed into every camera they could find. But the galaxy didn't care. They said it was isolated. They said, we're doing what we can. They said, it's just one child. That line, it's just one child, that reached Earth's people like a slap across the face. It echoed through forums, news feeds, military boards. One child, one innocent human girl stolen by monsters, and everyone just moved on. Not this time, not us. What the Valari didn't know was that Earth had changed. We weren't what we used to be. The last 3 galactic wars had left humanity sharper, angrier, united. We had stopped asking for permission. We had stopped playing by anyone else's rules. The Valari messed with the wrong species. It started with a single hacker named Ash Wolf, an ex-cyber commando with no leash. He found the Valari's black market trade routes by breaking into 3 criminal AIs and surviving the mental feedback that melted brains. He uploaded their coordinates to the network. Then came Unit 9, the Ghost Strike Force. No uniforms, no flags, just humans who knew how to end threats. Their first hit? A Valari lab station orbiting a dead moon they didn't board. They didn't ask questions. They dropped a tungsten rod the size of a shuttle from orbit. The moon cracked in half. Inside it were 15 human children, alive, drugged, saved. Lena wasn't among them, but that's when it changed from a rescue mission to something else. They found footage of Lena, strapped to a table, screaming, her voice raw, her body shaking. They were testing pain thresholds, injecting her with chemicals, laughing in their twisted language. The footage leaked online. Humanity saw her face, her blood, her terror, and something snapped. There wasn't a speech, no official war declaration, no presidents or diplomats, just one message sent to every Valari comm channel. You touched one of ours. Now we'll erase all of yours. And we did. Entire planets went dark. Human stealth fleets used quantum jump drives to bypass their defenses. Valari outposts were erased overnight. Their supply chains collapsed. Their leaders were executed in broad daylight, streamed live to Earth, but Earth didn't stop. We tracked every known Valari species member, every sympathizer, every trader. We didn't ask if they were innocent. We didn't care. This wasn't justice, it was vengeance. And in the middle of it all, the one question that burned in every heart: where is Lena? The Valari tried to hide. They always thought they were clever with their cloaked ships and underground cities and deals sealed in blood and fear. But they had never seen humanity like this before. Not desperate, not diplomatic, just done. We didn't send soldiers, we sent executioners. One by one, the worlds that had once whispered the Valari name in fear now watched in silence as they burned. We didn't terraform, we didn't colonize, we didn't claim. We left ruins and ash. No, Mercy, not after Lena. Some in the galactic community tried to intervene. The Zahn Collective issued a warning. The Dresch Tribunal called for negotiations. Even the United Galactic Council labeled our campaign a violation of interspecies law. You know what Earth said? She was 7, that was it, 7 years old, bright eyes. Loved painting stars with her fingers. Thought space was beautiful. Wanted to grow up and be a healer like her mom. Until a race of monsters decided she was a test subject. Until they screamed in her face to see how long she could scream back. So, we stopped listening to councils. We stopped caring about alliances. The humans who once begged for peace became the very nightmare aliens told stories about to scare their children. And still, no Lena. But then came a whisper. One of the freed. Human captives, an older boy from Mars, told us something. She was alive. 3 cycles ago, on a ship called the Harvester. That name sent shockwaves through the underground networks. The Harvester was a ghost ship, a mobile lab that never docked, always moving, always hiding, protected by what the Velari called the Veil of Silence, a stealth tech so advanced it bent space around itself. We couldn't track it, but we didn't need to. We had Aiden Core. They called him the Warhound. A man whose entire family was lost in the Europa riots. He'd spent 10 years hunting human traffickers, burned half his body, replaced most of his skeleton with steel. People said he couldn't feel anymore, that he'd sold his soul to the fight. When he heard Lena might be alive, he volunteered without being asked. "I'll find her," he said, "and I'll bring back the stars in her eyes, or I'll die giving her mine." So we gave him everything. A stealth ship built for one, a neural net loaded with every known Velari signal, a warpath carved into the darkest corners of space. He left with a simple message. "Stay ready. If I find her, you'll want to be at their front door," and then he vanished into the void. Weeks passed, then a month, and just when people started to wonder if the Warhound had failed, he sent one word across the entire galactic net: found. The message included coordinates, deep in the unmapped sectors, past the black storms, where no ship dared go because space itself seemed angry there. But we didn't hesitate. Every stealth fleet turned, every war-hardened pilot gripped the controls, and every mother and father who'd seen Lena's broken face clenched their fists and said, "Not one more." When we arrived, the Harvester floated alone, quiet. As if it knew the end had come, Aiden had already gone inside. He'd killed 92 Velari with nothing but a plasma knife, 3 bullets, and sheer rage. He found Lena strapped inside a glass chamber, barely breathing, pumped full of something alien and cruel. Her eyes flickered, one arm twisted wrong. She was alive. Barely. He carried her out, wrapped in his jacket like she was made of glass. "I've got her," he said, bloodied and burned. And when the fleet commander asked what to do with the Harvester, Aiden didn't even blink. Erase it. Leave nothing. So we did. Every ship fired. Lasers, plasma, torpedoes. It didn't explode. It was erased, atom by atom, gone like it never existed. And as the ashes floated, humanity didn't cheer. We mourned because Lena wasn't the only child we lost. She was just the one who made us remember who we are and what happens when you hurt our young. Lena didn't speak for 3 days. Her body was healing, slowly, thanks to the best human medtech we had. Skin grafts, nerve stimulants, bone regrowth. She was kept in a stasis cradle wrapped in warmth, light, and music, faint lullabies from Earth, but her eyes stayed hollow, like they were still trapped in that cold glass chamber aboard the Harvester. Doctors said she might never talk again, that her brain had suffered trauma too deep, that the chemicals used on her were designed to erase identity, to turn subjects into silent shells. But Aiden didn't believe that. He sat by her every day, didn't talk much, just sat there. Sometimes he'd hum an old Earth song under his breath. Sometimes he'd hold her hand. He refused to leave the medbay even to sleep, until one night, Lena finally whispered, barely audible, "Did they die?" Aiden leaned in, unsure if he heard right. She repeated it, a little louder. "Did you kill them?" He nodded. "All of them." A long pause. Then she smiled. It was small, fragile, but real. And that smile? It lit a fire in the soul of every human who saw it. News of her survival spread like lightning. People cried. In streets. Whole cities lit their skies with digital auroras in her name. They called her Starchild, not just for surviving, but for sparking something ancient in our species, a reminder that we're not just explorers, not just thinkers or traders or diplomats, we're protectors, fighters, monsters when we need to be, and we weren't finished. The Valari were scattered, yes, but not extinct. There were still fragments hiding across systems, secret labs, deep bunkers, old allies still whispering their names in exchange for credits and dark tech. Humanity wanted one thing now, complete extinction, but something changed. As the war machine rolled forward, as Valari blood-soaked moons and stations, a message came from an unexpected place, not from an alien race, from a human. Her name was Dr. Celine Voss, a xenoanthropologist who had been studying Valari culture. For years, she'd once worked with peacekeepers, believed in reformation, believed that knowledge was the path to change. She contacted Earth's Defense Command through an encrypted channel and said 4 words, "You're making a mistake." No one wanted to listen, not after what the Valari did. But her credentials forced them to give her 5 minutes on the broadcast. She stood in front of the most powerful people in the Terran Alliance and said, "We're not just destroying the Valari, we're turning into them." She spoke of Valari younglings, innocents too small to know war, of castes who had opposed the Syndicate but had no voice, of scientists who'd tried to defect and were buried under our orbital strikes. "We're becoming what we hate," she said, "and when the blood dries, what will be left of us?" It hit people like a punch in the gut. Some hated her for it, called her a traitor, said she was defending monsters. But others paused, including Aiden. He visited her under heavy guard. He didn't say much at first, just stared, then asked, "If they're not all monsters, why did no one stop them from hurting Lena?" She looked him in the eye and replied, "Because fear silences good people, just like anger silences mercy." That stuck with him. That night, he went back to Lena's room. She was sitting up now, stronger, eyes sharper, watching old Earth cartoons, in silence. He sat beside her and asked, "Do you want them all gone?" She didn't answer, just reached for his hand and whispered, "I don't want any more kids to scream like I did." That was all he needed. So Aiden made a choice. Not to stop the war, but to change its purpose from vengeance to precision. He would burn only those who burned others. He would find those truly responsible. He would carve his way through the stars until no one ever hurt a human child again. But he would not become a monster. And that would be harder than anything he'd done before. Aiden knew the war couldn't be stopped. The machine had momentum. Fleets were already deployed. Squadrons were locked onto targets. Human fury had been unleashed, and it wasn't something that could be tucked back into a sheath just because one little girl had survived, but it could be redirected. He reached out to command with a bold proposal, something that hadn't been done since the Earth-Mars rebellion. He asked for control of an autonomous judgment unit, a military fleet with full permission to seek and destroy targets without having to go through high-level approval. But this time, the target list would be his own. He wouldn't burn cities blind, he would hunt guilt. He called his fleet the Black Star Dogs. No flags, no diplomacy. Just eyes in the dark, trained on monsters who wore alien skin and human indifference. He demanded one thing, full access to Earth's intelligence net. Everything, every whisper, every scan, every illegal broadcast from smugglers or bounty hunters. He wanted to see the darkness, all of it. Earth gave it to him. Because even the most hardened generals knew something now. This war wasn't just about blood anymore. It was about Lena. Her face had become something more than a face. It was printed on walls across colonies, on warship hulls, tattooed on soldiers' arms. A child's portrait smiling again, now healing, her hair growing back in soft brown curls, her gaze stronger by the day. She was the symbol, and Aiden was her sword. The first mission was deep inside the Van Drift, a decaying asteroid belt where the Valari's secret logistics network once thrived. Rumors claimed a former syndicate commander had escaped the Harvester's Fall and set up a new lab with other exiles. The dogs went in hard. No negotiations, no questions. They found the lab under a shattered rock, guarded by mercenaries from 5. Different systems, all paid in credits soaked in human suffering. The battle was fast and ugly. When the smoke cleared, Aiden stepped into the main chamber and saw something that nearly broke him. Children. Again. But these weren't human. They were Velari younglings, locked in cages, malnourished, drugged, some with implants, some blind from experiments, and standing over them, a human scientist. He looked at Aiden like a man caught holding a bloody knife. "I was just studying them," he said. "Figuring out how they think. Payback, right?" Aiden didn't answer, he just stared, then raised his pistol and pulled the trigger. No trial. No speech, just one more stain cleaned from Earth's soul, and he ordered every child saved. When the team hesitated, confused, Velari or not, weren't they the enemy? Aiden said only this: "We kill monsters, not children, not ever again." Word spread fast. The Black Star dogs were feared, yes, but now they were something else too. They were respected. Even some alien races that once feared Earth began quietly sending tips. Hidden Velari warlords, secret research vessels, former allies of the Syndicate desperate to buy their way out of judgment, and every time Aiden whispered the same promise into the void before he struck. For Lena. Meanwhile, back on Earth, she was walking again. Her laugh had returned, soft and uneven. She liked sunflowers. She liked hot cocoa. She had a stuffed dragon she named Torch. And every night before bed, she asked her mom, "Is the bad ship really gone?" Her mom would nod. Forever. But in the quiet after, she fell asleep. Her parents would cry. Because Lena didn't dream of flowers or stars. She dreamed of cold metal tables and screams. The scars would never fully go away, but neither would humanity's promise. They hurt one child, and now the stars would never forget what humans do when you break something innocent. They called it the End War in whispers, not because it was the biggest, not because it cost the most lives, but because it ended something inside of us. It was no longer a war against the Velari. It became a war against the idea that anything could touch humanity without consequence, and in those final months, Aiden became less of a man and more of a force. The Black Star dogs dismantled what was left of the Syndicate, piece by bloody piece. He executed former ministers on live feeds. He torched black site labs orbiting dead suns. He crushed their currency markets by leaking bank codes to pirate groups. He turned the Velari name into something extinct. One by one, the last holdouts fell, and still Aiden pressed on, because deep down something still clawed at him. It wasn't just Lena's scream. It was the silence that followed, the helplessness, the universe's cold shrug, and he knew that if the galaxy didn't learn from this, didn't feel it in its bones, it would happen again, to someone else's daughter, someone else's future. So, he made one final move. He flew into Velari Prime, the original homeworld, now abandoned, hushed and scorched from earlier attacks. But there was one city still left, buried under layers of rock and protected by ancient tech. Their last memory vault, inside were the cultural records of an entire species, art, music, history. Their last chance at legacy. Aiden walked through the ruins with a fusion charge on his back. He stood in the center of the memory vault and sent out a single message to the galaxy. This is not revenge. This is a warning. Touch our children again and we will wipe not just your people but your name from memory, your past, your future. Nothing will remain, not even your ghosts. Then he pressed the button. Velari Prime cracked like a rotten fruit. And just like that, their story ended. The galaxy went quiet. For the first time in centuries, no race dared raise a weapon against Earth. No pirate crew thought to traffic in humans. No shadow empire tried to rise from the ashes of the Velari, because the universe had learned a truth carved in blood and flame. You do not harm a human child. Lena grew up surrounded by love, protected by the story of 1,000 warships. The girl, who made humanity remember its spine. Her nightmares faded slowly, replaced by dreams of stars and quiet skies. She never forgot what happened, but she never let it define her. She became a teacher of peace, of warning, of strength. And sometimes, on clear nights, she would look up into the stars and whisper thank you to the man who had walked through hell for her. Aiden Kor was never seen again after Valari Prime. Some said he died in the blast, others believed he walked away changed, bones aching, soul empty, but satisfied. There's a statue of him now in the Terran Core, carved from obsidian, eyes cold, jaw tight, standing over a child's cradle. The plaque says, "You hurt. One, we ended many, never again." And beneath that, carved by someone in scratched handwriting for Lena,